Ladies and gentlemen, it is the 30th of November, and so we know what that means, more Steam and sale deals, and we're going to be starting things out pretty rapidly actually. For $9.99, that's US dollars, and that will buy you Saints Row the 4th. Or, if you so wish, you can also pick it up in English money for $8.49, so Saints Row the 4th, of course, continues the series progression of absolutely zany and destructive open world type of games. I have covered this on the channel, and quite frankly I don't mind it. It starts you off as being the President of the United States, and then basically you're put into an alien game simulation, of course, which does explain why you do have, for example, superpowers. This is going to be one of those titles you either love it or you don't love it. I know that's really obvious to say. What I mean by that is you're either going to really appreciate the zany nature or it's not really going to be your thing at all. Personally, I didn't mind the combat, but the storyline itself wasn't really my thing. Next, Dishonored. Yes, Dishonored. $9.99. That will buy you the Game of the Year edition, which, to be honest, is probably about the best value for money, because the Brigmore Witches and the Knife of Dunwall actually give you quite a lot of content. You can pick up just the base game, however. Anyway, the base game is $4.99 and the full package is $10.19. For us Brits, we actually pay, well, $4.99, so we get screwed. An amazing title. Overwhelmingly good, in my personal opinion. One of the absolute best single-player experiences I've had in some time. I really love this game. I'd highly recommend it. Even the DLC is actually of really good quality, and it's sufficient length where you don't feel you just got gypped. Hi there. I'm looking at you, Barry, let's see. I'm waving at you. I'm waving at you because of your, 1 minute game time. To be fair, the game does have a few problems. You can tell that it was meant to run on like older hardware. For example, the Xbox 360, as there are some texture issues and so on and so forth. And the gameplay balance can be a little bit frustrating at times. But overall, I really like the game. And there is a couple of endings as well. Once again, I reiterate, I would highly recommend this title. And for the price, it's pretty much a steal. Next, Legend of Grimrock 2. I can say that I haven't played the second one, but allow me to tell you that the series as a whole is really good. The second one, from what I understand, massively improves upon the first. It's 15% off. That would be $20.39, or for us Brits, £15.29, which I realise isn't the biggest saving, but it's a fairly cheap game anyway, and it's just had a release. I believe mid last month, if memory serves. I really love the first one. It's very much a traditional dungeon crawler, and so the second one improves the graphics, improves the system quite a bit. It brings in a lot of extra weapons, extra monsters, and so on. If you are interested in a more traditional RPG, a first-person type of view, if you're interested in something that's a bit more robust, this is definitely the game you're going to want to start with. I would highly recommend it to pretty much anyone that is interested in a very hardcore RPG experience. It's certainly not for, say, a lover of Final Fantasy, but if you do love, I don't mean that in a negative way, but I'm just saying the styles are very different. Just because you love Final Fantasy doesn't mean you're going to love Grimrock, but I would still really suggest this title. Next, we have Divinity. I have actually covered Divinity Original Sin on the channel. I don't remember if I said that because I just got interrupted with recording for some length of time. But anyway, it's available for 20% off, $31.99, or pounds. It is, what is it in pounds? It's actually not too bad, £24. So we get a pretty good deal. It is a third-person RPG. It's not super duper hardcore, but it's kind of getting there. Very good storyline, at least in my opinion. Graphics are quite pretty as well. If you're interested in kind of the, let's say, Neverwinter Nights type of style, it could well do you. Quite like it myself. Worth checking out, in my personal opinion. Next, I haven't actually really tried this one myself, but I can't bring myself to. Anyway, it is a train simulator. So it is available on Steam, although oddly enough, for some reason, as to myself. I'm not quite sure why. A price is not currently showing for it. And despite my repeated attempts to actually visit the store, it's not actually loading the page, so I don't know if it's bugged or whatever. I don't know much about this title anyway, to be totally honest. It is Train Simulator. If you're interested in, well, trains, then you might want to pick it up. Otherwise, meh. Next title, well, I actually do know something about it. Let's move on to that, shall we? Arma 3. So, Arma 3 is pretty infamous amongst military simulation type of titles, and there are a multitude of different versions of this available. I'm just going to talk about the standard, normal, bog standard version, which is Arma 3. 50% off, $29.99 in dollars. On the other hand, if you're paying in Great British Pounds, it's going to cost you $23.39. General consensus of this title is it's pretty positive. You need a fairly reasonable rig to run it, but nothing that's gargantuan or anything like that, so most systems shall be fine. This is pretty hardcore, so if you're into Call of Duty, you might not necessarily be interested in Arma, quite frankly put. I don't have anything particularly against the game, it's just not my personal cup of tea. But I'm aware that many absolutely love these type of titles, so if you're interested in all of the shinies, all of the more realistic military sims, then it's definitely worth picking up. The price isn't too bad either. Next one is Plague Inc. Evolved. This one is early access, but the developers do give a shit, which is nice, you know. They're actually trying to update the game, and you can actually check that out just through the recent logs. They've had a log on November the 25th and one on October, so in other words, they are doing things, which is always a good sign. 33% off or $10.04, so $10.04. Not bad. Us Brits, meanwhile, for some reason, I don't know why, maybe it's because we get, for some reason or another, we actually get slightly less off. We are only currently getting off, what are we currently getting off? Oh no, now it's updated correctly. There we go, we're getting it for £8. But anyway, as I said, this title is pretty simple. The idea is that there is a plague going on. And so, there's this pathogen which was basically infect someone, and now you are basically bring about the end of human history by evolving a deadly global plague. It's pretty harsh, actually, and it's doing fairly well in terms of Metacritic. It's doing fairly well in terms of early access. Most people agree that it plays pretty well. Not really tried it myself, if I'm totally blunt. But as I said, early access is painting a fairly reasonable picture of this one, which is always a positive sign. If you're interested in these type of odd simulations, I guess you could go ahead and pick it up. Not something I'm personally interested in, but, you know, whatever. I want to discuss to you Gauntlet, because it's a very nice title indeed. There's actually a 4-pack of this available, but I'll discuss just the regular standalone version, which is $9.99. That's dollars, or £7.49. It's an isometric classic 4-player. Really, to be totally honest, it's meant for co-op, right? And it does support local co-op, which is really nice. I have to say that I quite like the look of this game. Aesthetically, it looks quite pretty. There are other games that are kind of similar-ish, like Torchlight, and of course you've got Diablo. But this one's really kind of fun. It doesn't really run that, it's not really that intensive to run. It also runs quite nicely on Linux and Steam machines, so you can run it on a nice variety of different systems. People will attest to the fact that it is nice, it runs quite well, there's not really any big bugs on it, local co-op is extremely good, it supports controller as well, so if you're interested in a title like that, this one is perfect. Next, and I believe the last title, let me just double check, yep, last title, Far Cry 3. Available for $7.49, or if you're paying in Great British Pounds, it's going to cost you $3.74. So, may I, before you go ahead and buy this, may I highly recommend, highly suggest, that you don't buy Far Cry 3, and instead, if you don't already own them, buy the franchise pack. Because that will give you Far Cry 3, Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, the original Far Cry 2, some DLC, and some other bits and bobs, and that is only $9.99, and that's US dollars. Doesn't really make sense to buy the original Far Cry Far Cry 3 when you can get all of that stuff. And the original Far Cry is still a pretty good game. It does have some problems, Far Cry 3, the original Far Cry, when like the monsters start appearing. But until then, it's really fun. Really like Far Cry 3. Would highly recommend it. Blood Dragon's okay. I personally don't really like the sense of humour on it too much, but I have covered all the Far Cries on the channel if you need more information. I don't really think it requires me to tell you what they are. The idea, of course, is you are set on a huge-ass tropical island. It looks pretty, it plays well, and it's just pretty much ideal. So yeah, well worth checking out in my personal opinion. We will now, rapidly, with gusto, blast our way through some of the daily deals. These, of course, will last you only one day. There's some really nice deals on, and we'll just quickly go through those. Transistor, highly recommended. 50% off makes it a pretty good price. Well worth checking out, in my personal opinion. The Secret World, I've heard from Spoony Kipper on the channel. He does some videos occasionally that it's a pretty good game. I've heard from others mixed things. Check it out if it's your type of cup of tea. Personally, not really interested in it at all. Others really love it. So, I guess that's just kind of nature of the beast. Ultra Street Fighter 4, 40% off. That brings it to a rather nice price, to be totally honest. I've got to say, Ultra Street Fighter 4 runs really well on PC. $17.99. It runs on a nice variety of machines. Not a problem. Why not? Yeah. Resident Evil 6, $9.99. That's 75% off. That's US dollars. You've also got Resident Evil Complete, which is quite good. Unfortunately, at least as far as I'm aware, they don't have some of the other Resident Evils. Let's just double check that. Yeah, they don't have Revelations. They've got Revelations, but actually no, it's 75% off as well. If I were you, Resident Evil 6 is okay. It's not bad. I'm not going to say it's crap. It actually works as well quite nicely local. You can do split screen, which on PC works really well. Because if you've got like a large display and you've got nice resolution. But, and you knew there was going to be a but because there's always a but. If you're looking for a scary game, it's not. What I would personally suggest, if you are looking for a game to play with a friend in this genre, either locally or with someone across the internet, this is your ticket, yeah. So if you're like, okay, I want to complete a game over Christmas with, my friend Bob, and whether Bob's in America and you're in, Taiwan, or Bob is locally and you can come around your house, Resident Evil 6 is perfect. On the other hand, and the PC version's actually quite nice as well. There's no real issues with it. At least as far as I remember, it runs quite nicely. I have covered it on the channel. On the other hand, if you want something a bit scary, then I would recommend instead you mosey on over to either one of the other Resident Evils, or if you want something a bit newer and you might not have actually completed it or played it yet, instead go ahead and pick up Revelations. It's a port of a 3DS game, so yeah, the graphics aren't quite up to snuff with, say, Resident Evil 6. There is a demo of this, I have covered it on the channel. Could well be worth picking up. There are other Resident Evils as well. The only problem is you don't have local co-op. You can have online co-op, but if I remember correctly. But yeah, could well be worth it. Anyway, Torchlight. We've covered this quite a bit on the channel. We've done a Let's Play. I absolutely love this game. A lot of downloadable mods and stuff for it. The graphics art style isn't quite, in my opinion, I prefer Diablo 3's, honestly. But I quite like Torchlight 2. It has its own place. Plays very well. Free to play, of course, online. Very nice to play with other friends. Absolutely a blast to play. I don't particularly like all of the classes. I wish the class diversity was a bit wider. I wish they instead had, say, another 2 to 3 extra classes. Some of this can be modded. The only problem with modded classes, user-created classes, is that you'll get this situation where they can be typically really overpowered, and balancing is a bit of a problem, but there is a lot of user content out there, which means the game theoretically can last a long ass time. Age of Wonders 3, not really tried it, I've heard mixed things, but mostly positive. GTA 4, might as well if you're interested in that type of game. Just Cause, pretty awesome game actually. I'd actually recommend it if you're interested in just blowing shit up. If you're looking for an original storyline, or you're looking for an in-depth storyline, or you're looking for something that's a bit smart, nope, pretty much. But if you're looking for a title that's just going to be like just crazy, zany, destroy everything, then yeah, could work. A few glitches here and there, but graphics look quite beautiful as well. Well worth checking out. I have covered it on the channel. And Risen 3, Titan Lords, 50% off, $24.99. No. 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 I cannot stand this game. I actually was going to review it for RGT, but I really didn't like the gameplay. If it's the game that I think it is, and I'm almost damn positive that it is, and checking out various reviews, yeah. I mean, personally speaking, I really didn't like this, but others did. So, the overall consensus from user reviews is it's mostly positive. Personally, I really didn't like it, but that's just me. I just didn't like the combat. I also didn't like it of Risen 2 as well. I thought it was quite clunky. I didn't really like the way the hits were. The graphics aren't too bad though. What I'd suggest, if you've happened to like Risen 2, go ahead and pick this one up. If you haven't liked Risen 2 and you didn't like the style of it, you probably won't. If you haven't played Risen 2, I would highly recommend looking at some videos of this before you pick it up. I'm not saying it's a bad game, necessarily. It's not. I mean, the storyline's fairly nice, but I personally really didn't get on with the combat. And obviously, if you don't get on with the combat with this type of game, you're not going to enjoy the game. When I personally played it, and some of this has been patched out, there was also some problems with AI and pathfinding, but that has been changed a little bit. So, could be worth it if you're interested in this type of genre. Personally, not my thing, but obviously I do not speak for everyone, even though I should. I think that's about everything in terms of Steam. There were a couple of other deals that I want to quickly go through in regards to Green Man Gaming. Resident Evil Revelations is actually $7.49, which, if memory serves, is actually cheaper than Steam. Is it cheaper than Steam? I just checked Steam, but I don't remember the bloody price now. Let me just double check that for you. What price is it? Resident Evil Revelations. No, it's exactly the same price, so there's no difference if you buy it from Green Man or you buy it from Steam directly. Shadow of Mordor, £20, I'm sorry. I don't know what the US prices are on these, but I do understand that there are pretty good prices in the US store as well. Shadow of Mordor, I've talked about this before. The game itself is really good, but Warner Brothers really deserve to be smacked on the head for their review practices. Their embargoes on reviews, the fact that, to be totally honest, a lot of the stuff that they did was very unethical. I have to admit I lost a lot of respect for them as a company, just from what you can hear. And you can Google this yourself to show that I'm not making up. They basically only were giving permission for websites, and we're talking even large websites that would agree to basically give pre-censored reviews, to be totally honest. Weren't allowed to show glitches in the game and so on and so forth, and they weren't very happy to give away PC versions either. Even massive industry figures, for example Total Biscuit, really had to struggle to get a copy of this, and other guys like Jim Sterling have really spoken out against the whole review issue. It was quite a travesty, and yeah. But the game, and the ironic thing is, the game itself is quite cool. So, go figure. Anyway, Hitman Absolution, it didn't sell the figures, it didn't achieve the figures that, well, basically Square wanted for it, which is an absolute shame, because the game is really cool. I really liked it, personally. The Walking Dead, $9.49, seeing it cheaper, meh. Sticks, haven't played it. Resident Evil 4. Yeah, well worth picking up, my personal opinion. A lot of Resident Evil today. I don't know if you've noticed that. And if I will quickly check on GoG, because I am that cool. Yeah, you've still got a few other options as well. For example, you've got Unreal Bundle, but they're not really doing any major sales at the moment, which is a bit of a shame. They are doing 9% off the Witcher adventure game. I'm sure that will that 9% will buy you graphics cards and everything else under the sun. Aside from that, most of your stuff is pretty obvious. You've got Origin as well, which I believe are still doing a deal. Yeah, 75% off on a variety of different games. Means you can pick up Titanfall. Very nice game, by the way. We highly recommend it. $7.49, well worth it. Dead Space 3, $4.99. Crisis 3, $4.99, and so on and so on. So do go ahead and check them out if you're looking for some cheap games. Remember the Origin as well do have, I believe it's a 24 or 48, double check on that, hour guarantee from their own titles. So it's well worth picking up. You can also pick up other games like Mass Effect as well. Like you can get the trilogy for $9.99, or you can buy like Mass Effect 3 for $4.99, and even the original Mass Effect for $1.99 is pretty nice deals. So yeah, I think that's about it in this particular video. So hopefully you've enjoyed it. Oh, you can also pick up Far Cry 3. Assuming you didn't want to do it through Steam, let's say you have this absurd fear of Steam, you can pick it up through Origin as well for $3.74. And you've also got other titles like Assassin's Creed and so on as well, but meh. Not amazing deals on them, to be totally honest. I've seen better. There are some nice deals, however, on like Dungeon Keeper. So if you're like me and you basically miss Bullfrog and you have a tear in your eye every time you think of titles like Magic Carpet, go ahead. They've also got a good deal on Kings of Amalur, which was pretty good. Dead Space 2, Alice Madness Returns, which I'd recommend. Command & Conquers, of all pretty cheap. May I also highly suggest Mirror's Edge, which is pretty old now, released in 2009, but it's a good game. Highly recommend it. $1.24. This is pound prices, not a problem at all to pick that up. You'll get a couple of hours. Entertainment, Bulletstorm, and so on and so on and so on. I don't want to read out all these games. I'm sure you're capable of kind of having a quick look. But that is me for this video. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye for now.